Good and all friends. I mean, really good to see you. I have met some of you just about a couple of months ago, right? Yeah. I did some speech, so I wasn't sure what I was talking before, so now I don't want to repeat what I was saying. Anyway, it's really nice to see you. Last few days, I spent a lot of time studying about education. Okay. I find the whole world has changed. The whole world has changed over the last 10 years. And 10 years ago, there wasn't even have a Facebook. Okay. And today, you know, young people, probably the most important thing for you is to manage your Facebook, okay, or go through your browsers, okay. But this become so serious. The young people start to forget about the skill, how to communicate with people, how to really enjoy a real life of yourself. You are really become a slave of the machine, right? You've been controlled a lot of time by the machine. Okay. Well, which I have one too. Okay. This, right? You get controlled by this, and you probably sometimes will spend more time with this than your real friend, or your parents, or your brothers and sisters. So that's won't be the only one. I mean, your mind is switched off, so I wouldn't embarrass myself. Okay. But that's in reality. The young people today, with the new technology, with everything has changed so well, suddenly you forgot to enjoy the true life. Just about a few months ago, I took over another school besides this one. I didn't have to invest any money. I just invest a little bit of my time. The school called Waldorf. I don't know if any one of you heard about the Waldorf. Waldorf has a policy. That policy was set really long before the computer was invented. The school actually was first invented about 100 years ago by a gentleman called Astoria Waldorf from Germany. They have made a policy actually in the past. Say, the parents at home should not have televisions because that time, we're talking about just last, 30 years ago, 50, 40 years, the television is so popular. So say you shouldn't have the television because you got controlled by the television and forgot about the real life. But now the thing getting even worse and worse with the computer invented, with all the Facebook is coming out now. So what happened is, as a result, the Waldorf insists that you should not let your kids try to avoid to have television at home, and you should avoid have kids touch a computer before the age of 14. And in another word, they consider the computer is so attractive to young people. Once you got hooked into it, you can't get out. Okay, suddenly you become the slave of the computer, of the Facebook or whatever it is. But in actual fact, it is a tool. It is a tool, nothing more different than a knife. I mean, knife, you can use them to kill people. Knives, you can use them to do many good things. You can do, as a chef, you need a knife. Okay? As whatever, there are many things you can't live without a knife. But it's an instrument, one tool that helps you can do something good. It can also help you can do something bad. Computer is the same thing. The Facebook is the same thing. It can help you to search a lot of knowledge out of it. It can also, on the negative side, you can get hooked in and you forget about all the rest, learning experience. So, young friends, I think it's really good. I mean, in the next few weeks, you're going to put yourself into a totally different situation. You're going to teach young people, a group of young people, about how to better use of their life, better use of their talent, okay? But try to avoid spend too much time with the machine, but dealing more with the people. I appreciate a lot of you have committed so many years. Okay, I saw so many familiar faces in the last 3 years. Some of you actually committed 4 years already, since Tainan, I know, to this project. And I also appreciate very much some of you actually have already finished your high school, reality is, this is really a good demonstration of your not using, just trying to do some community service like other young people was told to do, but you're committed with your heart, because you truly, with a lot of willingness, a lot of encouragement that you want to go out, and not anymore for a portfolio, not anymore to help you to apply to a university, but more truly for you to be able to do something you really find is meaningful to do. So that's what my tribute to all of you folks willing to make that commitment, which is very important. Just about a few days ago, I have learned, my son actually told me, and also a very famous doctor, Dr. Andrew Huang, which is the Ku Foundation, or Shen Yixin Foundation. There's a hospital called Hexin Yuan. Okay, he's the dean of he's the director of the Hexin Cancer Center. He went to one of the very important person. This person is from MIT. He's a professor of the MIT. For the last 12 years, he had almost come back to Taiwan and trying to give some messages to people, young people in Taiwan, and give his feeling about what's happening in the world. And this time, he had very, very strongly delivered one message. He said, I never realized, because I wasn't there, but because of the Professor Huang and because of my son, they just told me what he was saying in his speech. He said, I couldn't believe Taiwan is, with his experience, most of the middle-aged people who are more globalized, who have more global vision than the young people in Taiwan. He finds even more people speak better English than the younger people. How true it is? Yes and no. Because the professor, all the people he met, a lot of them was originally educated in America and come back and become a professor. That's why he met a lot of them. But the reality is not anymore a lot of young people from Taiwan is willing to go abroad and spend maybe the next 20 years in one country and submerge themselves to the culture, to the education, and also to anything, the job, skill, anything. So that becomes a national crisis. In other words, Taiwanese look inner side of themselves and rather than outside to see the world. They turn themselves toward China. The businessmen are attracted so strongly because they speak the same language, they speak the same culture, so they think that it's much more easier for them to deal with people in China than the rest of the world. Yes, we are taking advantage of that situation, but also we've forgotten about we have to have the diversity. If we don't diversify our business, if we don't diversify our opportunity, and eventually Taiwan will be totally lose our control, our ability to deal with the world. So this is why he said the English has become so important for Taiwan. It's so important for the whole world, but even more so for Taiwan. So he realized in Taiwan, he said that a lot of universities are not even use English as a material to teach. Okay. So he says this is very serious. So I'm talking to some of our already university young persons. This becomes so serious. The professor, his name actually is not too difficult to remember. It's called Gunther. He's a German, of course. He must have arrived, his ancestors must have arrived to America without speaking English. So the first immigration officer asked him, what is your name? He just tried to be polite, Gunther, so they just put his name, Gunther. But anyway, Professor Gunther, okay, he says, to this extent, he felt all the university in Taiwan should drop all the necessary courses, spend maybe at least half of the time, even 100% of the time, concentrate the student with English first, before they move on to the other subjects. So he said this is so important. And this is, when even I myself wasn't present in the place, I was so shocked because I realized with my experience The English have not anymore one of a language. Language is the most important tool now for anybody in the world. If you want to get knowledge through the internet, through all the other possible information source. In another word, whether you are French, you are German, you are Chinese, the English becomes so essential. If you do not have the ability to connect yourself to the knowledge you are trying to look for, I mean, you are really in trouble. You're probably losing 90% of the potential knowledge you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. So that's something worries me so much. For someone like me, I've never been to university, and English for me is just a basic communication tool. So I never use them as an academic tool for myself, so my English never really been able to do too well. But I still realize for the future of the young people, the English is so important. But so that's why when I come over to the east coast of Taiwan, when I see the school here, when I see the whole situation, education in Taiwan, the only way we can help the remote location young people over here, to help them to be able to match up with the world, the first thing they need to learn is English. The first thing the education there is no more boundaries. Okay, in another word, education could be self-educated in a remote location if you really want to. Okay, the education is being widely open. Some of you heard about Khan Academy. Some of you heard about Coursera from the Stanford since last year. But these kind of vehicles is being widely opened. I mean, a lot of famous professors voluntarily throw all their teaching material into the internet without charging anybody. So in another way, if young people